Committee for further consideration of the Education Amendment Bill.
Speaker.
Mr. Chairman.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Chairman.
Point of order.
No, I see you have a minister arriving now. Oh, sorry, I thought you'd lost it.
Get your glasses. Get your glasses.
No. Oh, okay.
Order. The Housing Committee for further consideration on the Education Amendment Bill. Members, when the committee last considered this bill, debate on Part 1 was in progress. Grant Robertson has the call and has 4 minutes, 25 minutes remaining should he so wish.
Mr. Chairman.
The Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Mr. Chairman, I want to speak to the supplementary order paper in Grant Robertson's name, and it's one which is an extensive one and which has some very important points in it. The first focus, which I think some of my colleagues will also look at, is the amendment which he is moving to insert a new clause 20A into Part 1 on guidance and counselling, which would amend Section 77A by inserting including guidance and counselling on career choices and career pathways after counselling. I say that the member, Grant Robertson, has taken this approach on this particular clause because of widespread concern and rumour that is currently circulating in the education community as to the Minister's plans for guidance counselling and in particular for career counselling, because it is a very strong view of people on this side of the House that having high quality career counselling is a fundamental part of our secondary education system in particular. That if people can work hard at identifying the pathways that they want to take the options which they think are important to assist that pathway, to make sure that they don't cut off particular options as they work their way through the system in order to keep those options open. Because I think all of us can tell stories, and some of us might even have them for our own families or even ourselves, of not doing particular subjects later in our secondary career, and as a result of that being considerably disadvantaged when it came to choices at university, or having to take a longer period in order to get to that point. And I think it is fair to say that career counselling and careers education, career guidance is something which has sometimes in some schools been a bit of a Cinderella, something which hasn't had quite the focus that it should have. And I think it's also fair to say that in some schools it used to be, I think less common now, be the place where teachers who had not were not possibly as confident in the classroom, or possibly had spent too long in the classroom, were put. Now there's a new generation, new understanding, and there are organisations which give them a lot of support in order to make sure that their important work is properly supported, even if it's not as well understood in schools. And Mr. Chairman, I think all of us are aware that some schools are better than others at career counselling, at choices. There are certainly some schools in rural areas which do some very good jobs as far as rural options are concerned, but then I think it's also fair to say that there are some others within those rural areas which do not provide the options, and also don't provide the steering to students in a way which is appropriate. And so there's been, I think the Minister would have, I know that the Minister's had quite a flurry of emails on this particular topic. There have been people from around the country who have a good understanding of the importance of career guidance, and would see this coming out of the Act, this not being in the Act as the way the bill was originally introduced by the Labor Party, as an indication of the fact that they were not as well thought of as some of their colleagues in more regular academic subjects. And as I've indicated, there is considerable rumour and fear at the moment about the suggestion that the funding which is made available to schools for guidance and for career guidance is likely to be taken away or somehow reallocated, and a very, very important area of work, something which I think just about all members of the House support, could well, as a result of that, be lost. Mr Chairman? Mr Chairman?
Honourable Trevor Mallett.
Mr Chairman, the second of the areas that I would like to focus on in if it's all right, I'll take my first couple of calls now, and one of my colleagues will have a go, and I'll come back on the later points, is on the question of the functions of the board. The original legislation, as introduced by the Labor Party, Minister Chris Carter, was much more explicit in the functions of the board and the things that it should do, the things that were important, than the legislation as it has emerged from the Select Committee. In fact, as the Minister has introduced it. And frankly, I'm not sure that any of those things, the things which are on Mr Robertson's list, are things which one could argue with. A board must perform the following functions. A, ensuring the enrolment at the school of all persons who are entitled to be enrolled at the school and apply to be enrolled in it. Now, frankly, there are some boards who don't do a very good job at that. There are some boards who allow systems within their schools that actively discourage students from enrolling at the school. I'd be interested to hear the view of Hone Harawira on the schools which occasionally discourage Maori pupils, especially those who are not academic, from... There's no doubt. I've been to that member school, and it is a good school. I'm not saying that the governorship of it was always perfect. I'm not saying that the financial controls were perfect. In fact, they were pretty good at controlling the spending of the cash, but not necessarily always at keeping it in the right pockets. But we probably don't want to go too far. I think the member doesn't want me to go too far down that track. But the point that I'm making to Mr Harawira is he knows as well as I do that there are a lot of schools around the country who actively discourage some Maori students, especially the less academic, those that come from the poorer suburbs, those whose families might be associated with gangs. They discourage those kids. And sitting here, number 1AA, a board must ensure the enrolment of those students. And I want to know from Mr Harawira whether he's going to vote for that, whether he is going to vote for boards to take those kids from those poor homes, or whether he's going to say it's okay and they don't have to. It's going to be interesting to see. To ensure that education is provided to each student enrolled at the school. Well, what that means is that the board has to take a much more active interest than some boards have been taken up to date in the quality of education and the fact that it is appropriate for each student at the school. And again, I will congratulate Mr Harawira, because at the school that he chaired the board of, they did a very good job for those students at identifying their needs and working on these needs and having the programs and recruiting the staff. I think it's fair to say that the member concerned was pretty intimately connected with the recruitment of some of the staff, or at least one member of the staff of that particular school. But what happened was that they got good teachers. They got good staff who worked to make sure that the education was provided to each student enrolled at the school, and they made some real progress. No, I think it's fair to say over the years. I had some discussions with the member about his school and things which were appropriate and things which weren't appropriate, but there was never an argument that they had the kids' interests at